Daf Pei Aleph, page 81, Parshas Titzaveh. We'll start with from the beginning of Parshas Titzaveh, almost halfway down. The posuk says, Veatah Titzaveh Binei Yisroel, that you, Moshe, shall command the Israelites, vayikchu eilecha, they should bring the oil to you. They should bring him and they should bring it to Moshe, but then Aharon should light it outside the curtain over the edus, the Or Ein of testimony. Aharon should prepare the menorah and use that oil to light the menorah. Now, since the menorah was lit by Aharon, why should the oil be brought to Moshe? It says that they should bring the oil to Moshe, and then Aharon lights the oil, the menorah. Secondly, why, when it talks about Moshe, it says that it will be lit ner tamid, as an eternal lamp, whereas for Aharon it says that it will be lit me'erev ad boker, from evening till morning. Why with Moshe eternal and Aharon only for the nighttime? Explain this. Look at the role of Aharon and versus the role of Moshe. So it says that Aharon is shushvina de nisa. He's the shushvin, the unterführer of the matron, the kala, the bride. Whereas Moshe is the shushvina, the one who escorts the chas and the groom. So the bride is the Knesset Yisroel, the Jewish collective, the source of our neshamas, our souls, and Aharon helps take us to our chuppah, our marriage and wedding with Hashem. And the bride and groom can't go themselves because they're bashful. They need someone to support them and to go with them. So similarly, the Jewish people are coming together and becoming one with Hashem, with Or Ein Sof, Hashem's unlimited light, and they need the support, someone to support them in order for them to be able to reach up and to unite with Hashem. And that was the role of Aharon. Now, once they were already married, and this is in general how it works with the shushvin, the unterführer, and their whole role is for that moment of the chuppah, the day of the wedding. Once they're married, then they're together. So this also applies with Aharon, that his role was on the day of the wedding, which is a day of great joy, where Hashem and the Jewish people come together, where they rejoice. The Am Yisroel rejoice in Hashem, who is resting within our Torah and Mitzvos, and that has to be with great joy, like it says that tachas because you didn't serve Hashem with Simcha with joy and goodness of the heart. That's why you're being punished. So we see that doing mitzvahs is not enough. It has to be with joy, like the Rizal explains on that posuk. And Aharon is the one who allows for this union and for this rejoicing, and that's his role. Now, the Simcha, the joy, is because we're connecting to Hashem and Hashem's unlimited light, which is the source of the pleasure in mitzvahs. And this is why, because mitzvahs give the neshama the greatest possible pleasure. That's why before we do a mitzvah, we say bracha, we say Asher Kirishon Mitzvos, who sanctified us with his commandments. But Asher, besides meaning that, also comes from the word to be fortunate or happy or to have pleasure. Like the tribe Asher was so named because Ashri, that Leib felt fortunate when he was born. And that Asher was fortunate with his daughters. The daughters of the tribes of Asher would be very special. So this relates to joy and for all the good. Now we see with mitzvahs that it says that the job of Adam and Chava in Gan Eden was la'avda u'l'shamra, to work the garden and to look after the garden. So la'avda, to work the garden, is to act, to do something that's the positive mitzvahs. Mitzvahs I say. which brings the light of Hashem in, so that the tzaddik and Am Yisrael can enjoy, can have pleasure from the light of Hashem revealed through their mitzvahs. And it's such a great pleasure to the extent that Rabbi Meir, the student of Acher, who had left Yiddishkeit, said that better that he be judged and then be able to receive Olam Haba. So we see how special the pleasure of Olam Haba is, that would be worth of him to first be judged and punished in Gehenna in order to then afterwards receive Olam Haba. Like Rabbi Akiva said, that he saw the great hustle, bustle, and the success of a Roman city, and he said that the other Chacham were crying, but he was smiling, and they asked him why. He said that if this is what those who go against Hashem's will get, they have such a good life, then for those who do Hashem's will, how much more so will it be even far better. So what he meant was that the Romans were over etzone. They were passing by Hashem's will. In other words, that they were receiving this a great life, physical pleasure, by bypassing Hashem's will. They weren't receiving that through doing Hashem's mitzvahs. They were bypassing that and receiving the pleasurable life anyway. And if that's what happens, if you to those who bypass Hashem's will, then certainly those who do Hashem's will, they do the mitzvahs, then their spiritual pleasure will be far more. Now, the Romans were still able to receive pleasure in the physical world, and that's because of Shviras HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels, which allowed godly life force to be at least hidden, even in a place of darkness, a place of klippa. But certainly those who connect to Pnimius, to Hashem's inner light, will certainly also, they'll receive a deeper pleasure as well. Okay, next paragraph. Now, the pleasure which is received from mitzvahs is compared to the menorah, just like when lighting the menorah light, the candles or lamps, so it fills the whole house with light. So similarly, through mitzvahs, so it brings down this ray of Hashem into Gan Eden, and that ray of Hashem is pleasurable, that closeness, that understanding of Hashem. And this is the meaning of the posuk we quoted before, that the reason for the punishment in the tachas, in the rebuke, is tachas Hashem Elokecha, because you didn't serve Hashem, bisimcha with joy, and tuv levav, with goodness, gladness of heart, meirov kol, from an abundance of good. So simply, Rashi explains that it means that if you didn't serve Hashem, when you have good times, you end up having bad times. The Arizal explains that that the punishment is because we're not serving Hashem with joy, even if we're serving Hashem, but not with joy. But what does this meirov kol mean? That we should serve Hashem from an abundance of good, meaning with excitement. But the Arizal, the Alter Rebbe explains it differently. And meirov kol is a separate point. That it means that represents the multitude of pleasure, the great pleasure in Gan Eden. But all of that is from our limited understanding and the limited revelation of Hashem in Gan Eden. Whereas when we do a mitzvah, we connect Hashem's essence, and therefore the Simcha, the joy, is more than meirov kol, more than rov kol, more than the multitude of pleasure in Gan Eden. And because even in Gan Eden, where it's all limited, and like it says that mili mili vashamayim, that who's in the heaven and earth. In other words, I don't want anything from the heavens or the earth. I just want Hashem Himself. Or like we say in Dovid, that vashamayim avalar tachas al kol shevach ma'asiyodecha, that in the heavens above and the earth below, on all the praise of your handiwork. So the heavens above is the high level of Gan Eden, the earth below is the lower Gan Eden. And the praise is all this praise is only to ma'asiyodecha, Hashem's handiwork, because all of Gan Eden is only the work of Hashem's hands, not Hashem's essence. Just like if a person writes nicely or draws a picture, so we might praise the person for his handiwork, but that's not it's not the person himself. That's only something that he made, and it doesn't show his wisdom, his character, and certainly not his essence. So similarly with Hashem, so Gan Eden is only something that comes from Hashem, but it isn't Hashem himself. Okay, over the page. And so it's only called Ma'aseh Yadav, the work of Hashem's hands. But when we do a mitzvah, so then Hashem responds in kind doing that mitzvah. So like when we put on tefillin, Hashem puts on tefillin. When we do Hashem heals the sick or blesses us with parnassos. This is all when we do a mitzvah. Then we get direct blessings from Hashem and engagement from Hashem Himself. Like we say in Shemen, that He sustains life with His kindness. So in Gan Eden, they just get away from this, and therefore it's limited. And there's many different levels in terms of how much revelation of Hashem's light there is, and that corresponds to all the different levels of Gan Eden. Even though normally we talk about only two levels of Gan Eden, the lower Gan Eden and the higher Gan Eden, but really there's millions and almost infinite levels. And like it says that that the Torah scholars, they don't have peace because they keep on moving to higher and higher levels in Gan Eden. And that's the meaning of like the Gemara quotes from the posuk that they keep on moving from like higher and higher, and therefore because there's so many levels, and therefore they have no peace. This Svarim mentioned that between the different levels of Gan Eden, there's an amud, there's this pillar that connects the different levels of Gan Eden, and each tzaddik, depending on where he elevates, which levels of Gan Eden, he uses different types of amudim, different types of pillars connecting. And there's like it references in some places 50,000 yovelis that each every 7,000 years is a shemitah, and then 50,000 years is a yovel, and then 50,000 yovelis is 50,000 times 50 times 50,000 years or levels. So this all represents going up higher and higher in levels of Gan Eden. And this is all the only array of Hashem, but with the highest level of Gan Eden, we wouldn't grasp Hashem Himself. And like Malachim say Kadosh, 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 that Hashem is holy, 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 meaning He's removed them beyond the Malachim, and that's why they say Ayin Mekom Kvodo, where is the place of His glory. On the other hand, with mitzvahs, that is where the revelation of Hashem comes from. It's the source of the ray, and it's the mitzvahs are called the limbs of the king, the limbs of Hashem, meaning that they are the vessels which hold Hashem Himself. And that's why it says about many mitzvahs that do this mitzvah lifnei Hashem, before Hashem, meaning that it's higher than the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, because it's Hashem's essence. And that's why we say in Shema that these words, these mitzvahs, that I, Hashem, His very self, His essence, is commanding us today. And that today represents the world of today, which is the physical world where we can do mitzvahs and achieve, and that's where we could connect to Anochi, Hashem's essence. And therefore we should be so excited, and so much more excited and happy, and have such a deep pleasure from the opportunity to do mitzvahs that we have now, more than even the highest level of Olam Haba, the world to come of Gan Eden. Okay, next paragraph. Now, who reveals this simcha, this joy from connection to Hashem Himself, to Or Ein Sof, Hashem's infinite light within Yidden? So that is Aharon. Aharon lights our lamps so that we should have light and joy, because Aharon is one of the 7 shepherds who provide the Jewish people with the light of Hashem from beyond Hishalshalus, from beyond the chain of worlds, Or Ein Sof, Hashem's unlimited light. Now, there are two stages in what Aaron had to accomplish. First was Yarech, he would prepare the menorah, and then over Halos, he would light the menorah. So the first stage is the preparation, that the person should be ready to have Hashem's, to bring Hashem's presence on them. And then the second stage is when there's actually revelation of Hashem, and then we respond in kind with jumping up towards Hashem, wanting to elevate towards Hashem. So in davening, so we also have these two stages. So first we have Pesukei de Zimra, the section of davening, the beginning of Shacharis, where we're preparing ourselves so that Hashem will be manifest on us, and that we'll be excited and elevate towards Hashem. And then in that part of that preparation is like we say in Pesukei de Zimra, Rome is kal b'greinam v'cherev is biyadam. Cut away, use the cherev, the sword in groinam, in the throat, to cut away any klippa, any covering over Hashem, and because davening is a time of war, and that's all part of the preparation to get rid of any internal or external blockages and disturbances, and then with Shema to have Hashem revealed upon us, and even into a state of a love of Hashem b'chol beyond all. And this is the meaning of Aaron's lighting of menorah, and that's why it lasted erev boker, from night until morning, because it starts off with night, meaning darkness, that there's concealment on Hashem's presence, and that's like at the state of Pesukei de Zimra, where we're working on cutting off those blockages and coverings over our soul. And then the second stage is morning, where there's a light and revelation of Hashem, and it's just joyful and blissful. Next paragraph, Ach. So Aaron had to light the menorah with oil that was made from crushing olives. So like in the Mishnah, it says that you have to crush the olives and put it into the container, and the first olives for the menorah. In other words, the first drops that come out of the olive are for the menorah, and then when you crush the olive further, then the later oil is for the menachas, for the oil that accompanied the flour offerings. What's the idea of crushing olives? Well, an olive is bitter, like in the story of Noach, when he sent out the dove, and the dove found an olive leaf, and the dove, what the dove meant to say with this was that I'd rather have my own food, even if it's bitter like an olive, and not be just sustained by someone else, to sit in the ark, in the teva of Noach, and be sustained by Noach. It also says about a olive that because of its bitterness, it makes one forget his study of 70 years. So although it's it's allegorical, but why is olives connected to forgetfulness? Because so olives which are bitter come from the side of klippa, of severity and covering, and therefore connected to forgetfulness. So that's in general our body and our animal soul. So we have to crush that bitter shell, and then we reveal the oil inside. The oil represents chachma, like it says that just as olives make us forget our learning, so oil brings back our learning of 70 years. Think more on the impact on memory of olives and oil in Gemara Hayri stuff. You Gemara base. So what is the idea of the crushing of the olives? So it's about crushing and subduing the sitra achra, the klippa, which covers over Hashem's light, and that is through humbling oneself, and making oneself like leftovers, like it says l'she'eres nachlase. Hashem looks after the remnants of his inheritance, the remnants of the Am Yisroel. So we have to make ourselves like leftovers, that we want nothing but Hashem. We're just devoted to Hashem, and we're not seeking or chasing other pleasures. And when a person absconds all other pleasures and has as if he has no need for them, and even spiritual pleasures, also something he wouldn't want. So then, and he's just totally devoted to Hashem. So the posuk that the remnants of Yaakov, posuk in Micha with Tarim that your hand shall be raised above your oppressors and all your enemies shall be destroyed. So this represents that through bittul and through iskafia, through self-nullification and restraint, then we cut off all our spiritual foes, which block us from closeness with Hashem. This is similar to the posuk we quoted before, which we say in Pesukei de Zimra, that Romes kal b'greinam, that Romes is we lift up Hashem in our throats. In other words, we praise Hashem in our throats, and v'cherev b'fias b'yadam, sword in their hands, meaning that through cutting off klippa, we connect to Hashem at a high level, Romes at a lofty level. On the other hand, when we're self-centered and egotistical, so then like the Gemara says, Hashem says, then I and he cannot live together in the same place. And so this sense of bittul is the level of chachma, which is when we're receiving from the subconscious, or in spheres, receiving from Hashem's light from beyond. And that's the idea of oil that is made through crushing the olives. And the oil has a greater bittul, greater self-nullification than the wick. Like that's why the wick continues to exist, whereas the oil is consumed and disappears in the fire. So similarly, chachma is this state of bittul, and is included in the light of the lamp of the mitzvah, which reveals Hashem's unlimited light. And only through the oil, which represents bittul, does Hashem's light, represented by the fire, continue. If we'd only have a wick, the fire would go out very quickly. So that's lit through bittul, and this role of Aharon with lighting our lamps, and introducing this excitement and this joy in doing mitzvahs, happens like the posuk says in our parsha, Titzaveh mechutz l'parechas ha'edos, outside the curtain of the Kodesh Kodashim, where the Aharon of ha'edos, the Aharon of a test, which is a testimony to Hashem, was housed. So what's this idea of a curtain and being outside the curtain? So we know that that Hashem is compared to shemesh or magen, to both a sun and the shield over the sun. The sun represents Hashem's unlimited light, and then the magen, the shield, blocks it so it's not too powerful and too much for us, and to allow us to be an independent existence. But still, it still, even in the place which allows for other, so there's still a sense, a trace of Hashem, and we say Melecha, it's quoted that Hashem fills all of earth despite being hidden within earth. So shemen kium is that shield which makes it bearable, so there's not too much godly light that would smother us out of existence. Next paragraph is Zelinyan. So this is the idea of the pareches, the curtain which separates, which shields us from the intense light of Hashem, and even outside that curtain, in the place of yichud atata, the lower level of unity, where we feel like we exist, but we're deciding to come back to Hashem, and we yearn for Hashem. So there we have Simcha, we have this excitement of being able to come back to Hashem, and that should be our soul yearning and desire. And we should love Hashem b'chol me'itecha, with all our might. And that's the role of Aharon, to foster this love and joy. Next paragraph. Now the posuk continues that Aharon has this ability to light our lamps, to reveal this love that we have for Hashem through the end of the posuk continues. It's an eternal law for throughout the generations, Me'es Binei Yisroel, from the Jewish people. So this word Me'es has the aleph to taf. So this represents Torah, which uses all the letters of the aleph base, and inside our Torah, when we learn with reverence and love of Hashem, is the higher level of Torah from Chochmah Vatzilus. And so therefore, Torah is the light, while mitzvahs are the lamp. And mitzvahs are the container that holds the light of Torah. And so Aharon lights our lamp through mitzvahs that are accompanied with Torah. Only then can he bring the light and Simcha Shel Mitzvah to us. On the other hand, someone who is ignorant of Torah and doesn't learn Torah, he is lacking this Chachma, and therefore lacking in the spiritual light. So while who is the one who guides us in our Torah, that is Moshe. Aharon excites us in our mitzvahs, but that can only work if we have Torah, which comes from Moshe. Moshe came from beyond the world, and that's why he had difficulty speaking. And like Torah, which is from beyond the world, like it says that Torah is the Amalei. It says Amalei Shel Olam, that the toil of the world ends up being futile, but Amalei Shel Torah, the toiling in Torah, which is beyond the world, that is everlasting. And so that's like Moshe, it's beyond the world. And it's unlike Aharon, which is going up halal to Hashem, elevating to Hashem. Moshe is Hamshacha, bringing Torah down to us, which now we're not nullifying us before Hashem, but Hashem is speaking right through us. And this is like the difference between a servant of the king who's totally nullified before the king, and when the king himself speaks. So when we learn Torah, Hashem is giving out Torah through us. And this is especially so with someone who is Teirasiam Nasa, whose entire focus is on and occupation is on learning Torah, like the Rabbi and his colleagues. And that's why they didn't have to daven, because davening is bowing before Hashem, which is like the servant before the king, whereas Torah, Hashem is just being expressed through them. Like the Rabbi said, that I'm like in one knot bound to Hashem. And that's the level of unity and bit of Torah. And that's why it says Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, that Torah is equal to all mitzvahs, because the level of oneness with Hashem accomplished through Torah is greater than that which is accomplished through mitzvahs. And that's why the oil was brought to Moshe specifically. And like we said, that oil is connected to Chachma. It says, who is wise one who sees the outcome. What does this mean spiritually? That Chachma sees how everything that exists comes out of the ayin, comes out of Hashem's light. And this is renewed every moment, because really Hashem is beyond creation, and all of creation is just a ray from Hashem, and therefore it has to be constantly renewed. So when a person thinks about this, he'll be in a state of total bittul, And this is the feeling that one should try to bring upon himself when he learns Torah. This is also the meaning of the beginning of the posuk, Veatah Titzaveh Binei Yisroel, that you should command the Jewish people. Titzaveh, besides meaning command, means to connect. That through the they should, through bringing the oil to Moshe, they connect to Moshe, who is the one who gives them Torah, and then they're able to take in Torah, like the end of the pasuk says, "May ace Binei Yisroel," that Binei Yisroel are able to take in the Torah from Aleph to Tov. And then Aharon's able to light their lamp, meaning to excite them with Simcha mitzvah, with the joy of doing a mitzvah, once they've already been given Torah by Moshe. Now, with Aharon, which is the idea of a rotzui, elevation to Hashem, it starts off dark, it starts off far away, and from that, the neshama develops a yearning to come close, and therefore it says that he lights the lamps from evening till morning. Whereas with Moshe, who's bringing down the Torah from beyond, from Hashem, and is bringing it down, so there's no change. It's not that it starts off dark. It's tamid, it's eternal, because it's bringing down from Hashem's oneness to us. And there's no dark, there's no light, everything is one. Okay, so that concludes the Maimer, and in short, we've said that Aharon is the one who fosters our sense of Simcha shel mitzvah, our excitement and happiness, pleasure of mitzvah, which that pleasure is far greater than Gan Eden, which is only a ray from Hashem, whereas this is Hashem himself. And then Moshe gifts us with the Torah, and therefore, and we need Torah in order to develop this excitement, and therefore the oil was brought specifically to Moshe, the oil representing a bittul, because you have to crush olives in order to get to oil, and only through the learning Torah with bittul, are we then able to have Simcha shel mitzvah, the joy of doing a mitzvah, which is fostered by Aharon.